Hi everyone, hope you're having a good day. So this video is meant to be a demonstration video of a new program I made. In fact, it's my first program I've ever made independently, so like something that wasn't a school project. I did it in Python, and basically it's able to play the game GeoGuessr. So GeoGuessr is the game you see in front of you, and it's quite simple. Basically, it gives you a random Google Street View location, and you're supposed to figure out where you are. So my program um, tries to figure out what country it's in, and it does so without moving around within the game. So I just wanted to demonstrate it quickly, and as it's trying to determine what country it's in, I can provide some information about the project and what the program is doing. So I'm just going to hit start here, and it should start doing its thing. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to look for language. So this part takes quite a while. I'm guessing maybe 2 minutes. So if it does get lengthy, just skip ahead 2 minutes. So it looks like there's some language behind the tree there, so it'll be looking at that, I'm sure, hopefully. So what it's doing is it took a screenshot and it looked if there's any language, and then it tried to read like what it says, and then it tries to determine what language it is. And it's going to do that about 5 times. It's going to spin around slowly and take a picture and do the same thing. Yeah, so once it's done that, it'll start looking at the camera quality, and then it will start looking for the sun and try to figure out what direction it's in, because the direction of the sun can indicate what hemisphere you're in. And then it'll try to determine what the Google car there is. So the Google car is basically the vehicle that takes the Google Street View footage. And sometimes, normally it's completely blurred out, but sometimes it isn't, and when it isn't, it can provide some insight into what country you might be in. So it looks for those things, and it also has a neat trick to determine whether it thinks it's Japan or not, based on the size of the arrows in Google Street View. So it looks for those clues, and using that information in the probabilities of every country, the probabilities of those clues appearing in those countries, and the error rates of those clues, it will determine the probability of every single country, and then the most likely country. So that's how it works. It's almost finished looking for the language. Yeah, so if I had to guess here, this looks like Asia. The language behind the tree looks like it could be Thai, or maybe Cambodian. They both look very similar to someone that doesn't speak Thai or Cambodian, so I would guess it's one of those, but we'll see what the program says. So, okay, now it's done looking at the languages, so it's going to look at the ground to determine the camera quality, and it looks at the ground because it's the most constant area for it to look at, and it's just looking for blurriness, basically. So it's done looking at the camera quality, and now it's going to start looking for the sun. So it looks up at the sky, and it's looking for a bright white patch of pixels, basically. So it's found it, and it's saying it's in the north based on the compass on the left there. So that indicates that we're in the southern hemisphere. And now it's checking if it's Japan based on the size of the arrow I mentioned. And now it's checking the Google car. And now it is done. So when it finishes its calculations, I have it currently so that it pops up this little thing, round finish, type N and hit enter to continue to the next round. So now I can see what it's saying. So as we can see here, it has output the probability, the top 10 most probable countries, and it rounds the percentages to the nearest integer, which is why some of these are 0. In reality, they're not 0. They're just closer to 0 than they are to 1. So we can see the program is saying Thailand is by far the most probable country at 91% chance. So let's look at its reasoning. So it's saying the geocar type is nothing, so that's the Google car, which would be correct. That just means that it's completely blurred out. There's nothing you can gain from that, basically. Well, there's a little bit, but it's correct, so that's good. And this is also regarding the Google car type. Sometimes there's an antenna on the trunk. In this case, there was no antenna, so that's what that means. It's saying it's not Japan based on the size of the arrow, which I imagine is correct. And it's saying it's the southern hemisphere, which, I mean, I think that the sun is in the north, which would infer it's the southern hemisphere, but sometimes that clue is incorrect, and the program accounts for that based on its error rates. So if it is Thailand, it would be in the northern hemisphere. So this is probably incorrect, but it accounts for that, basically, the program. So the camera quality, it's saying it's Gen 3 or Gen 4, which means it's basically the highest quality, which seems to be correct. And then the language, so it's saying it found 2 instances of the Thai language, that's what the 2 means, and TH means Thai. And then it also found 1 instance of Romanian, which I would think is incorrect. The reason this didn't seem to affect, like Romania, I don't think it was in the top 10, is because finding only 1 instance of a language in my program is not very concrete evidence, whereas finding 2 is very concrete, and it uses these instances to calculate the error rate. So that's why, yeah, it's quite useful to keep track of how many times it found each language. So let's look here. So this is what it thought was Romanian. So Sao, I mean, that probably would be Romanian, like if you had to make a best guess, but that's not very good evidence. So, but it only found 1 instance, so let's look at the Thai language here. So we can see it doesn't actually output the text because the script doesn't output here, but we can see both language identification libraries agreed it was Thai. So that's 1 instance, and then this is the other instance right here. They both agree it is Thai. So 91% sure it is Thailand, sorry. So let's see, if I hit N and then enter, it should guess Thailand. So you can see there that it did guess Thailand. Hopefully you were able to see that. Yeah. So that's my program. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it wasn't too long. Yeah, have a great day, and bye. Thank you for watching.